Welcome everybody, and welcome back to those that have been a part of our previous 5 series. My name is Terry Dillon. I'm the CEO of CLUBMAP that was born in 2015 as TD Solutions and rebranded July 2021 to CLUBMAP. So welcome everybody tonight. Tonight is our 6th series. We do run these all year round because we know clubs need support all year round. So that's for the winter and summer sports. We've worked with we've had 12,000 people attend our webinars and our workshops over that journey, 70 odd sports. We've also had, I think tonight, I'm just guessing, but I reckon we've got about 50 sports that were registered tonight. I think we're thrilled. We're going to have, hopefully we've got Patrick Walker sitting there to have a little chat in a minute, but Patrick is the CEO of the Australian Sports Foundation, who Australia's leading non-profit sporting fundraising body. And we just announced a formal partnership with the ASF last week. I think it was last week, pretty sure it was last week. And we're running a joint session tonight. So we'll hear from Ryan Holloway, who will co-deliver the session with myself tonight. But we think it's a perfect fit, a lot of synergies between the ASF and what we do and servicing community sport around the country. And I just want to thank the ASF for participating in tonight's session. So we'll just kick it into gear. So I'm going to introduce Patrick. Hopefully Patrick's on the line, but yeah, I can see him. You might take yourself off mute. But Patrick is... I'm
off mute.
You're off mute, Patrick. Patrick's the CEO of the Australian Sports Foundation, and he's been, I think he's probably 6 or 7 years, Patrick, since you, maybe longer. I've probably undersold you there.
Yeah, a bit longer than that, Terry. You know I look young, but it's been close to 8 years now.
So I just want to thank Patrick for the opportunity of speaking tonight, but over to you, Patrick, and if you can just address the group that is here now. So.
Yeah, look, thanks, Terry. Great to be joining this session tonight. I actually don't want to say very much because I know that everybody's here to learn some important stuff about raising more money for their club. But just, briefly on behalf of the ASF, we're really excited to be teaming up with CLUBMAP. It's been a uniquely challenging last couple of years for everybody involved in community sport, and we're all involved, whether in our business or the clubs that we help to manage or we play for. And it's obviously part of that is helping clubs raise funds. We know clubs have lost a lot of revenue. And when sports shut down during COVID, clubs that turned to our tax-deductible online fundraising system raised an average of $13,000 each. And as one club president said to me, you have to sell a lot of sausages to raise 13 grand. But we know clubs are hurting in many other ways, and that's why we've teamed up with CLUBMAP. CLUBMAP have got great structures to help streamline operations, ways to grow participation, and ways to attract and retain volunteers. And those are some of the big pain points we've seen. So our feeling is together we can help clubs in a more holistic way than we have before. So really excited to kick this off tonight, really excited to be part of the discussion. And I want to hand back to the CLUBMAP team and my team to help talk us through it.
Awesome. Thanks, Patrick. And Jono is going to be here for a short time. He has to jump out for another session. So Jono, can you just quickly...
Yes. Yeah, as we go tonight, feel free to throw any questions in the chat as always. We'll try and get to as many as we can at the end. We'll have a short Q&A at the end and let us know where you're tuning in from as well if you haven't done so already.
And what's in front of us is how we support clubs from an administration point of view. We delivered, these are free sessions and we're open and upfront and transparent, and that we do spend 5 minutes at the end of the session promoting what we offer in terms of our range of services, and a lot of clubs are in need of support and sometimes they don't know where to go. That sort of gives you a bit of a snapshot of the topics that we do cover. Very much what we do cover is about off-pitch, off-field, off-court, and that's sort of our key focus points. I think it's really important to go through, set the scene before we cross to Ryan about the data we have captured, excuse me, since 2020, since we delivered our webinar series. And 94% of volunteers are not specifically educated how to run a club. And I'm going to say that again, 94% of volunteers are not specifically educated how to run a club. We do find a lot of the sporting bodies focus on the governance, compliance very well, but they don't teach you how to grow membership, sponsorship, fundraising, capital grants, how to tap into the over 55s funding opportunity, how to maximise the Australian Sports Foundation opportunity. We also find, and we're going to touch on a little bit tonight, the way clubs across the country raise money is 50 years old. It is a completely out-of-date model. Tonight, we're going to talk to you about one component of that model, but as the series unfolds, you'll hear a lot of change in the traditional way community clubs raise money. 86% of clubs don't have a plan. They continue to do the same thing year in, year out, and they just, not saying they get caught in a rut, and some of our clubs don't know what good looks like. So obviously the strength of our knowledge is that we work with all sports across many clubs, and we can bring a collaborative approach to that. And 84% of clubs are run by 3 to 4 people. And most clubs we deal with have an element of fragility to it. They lose a couple of key people. The health of that club can change really quickly. And 2 out of 3 clubs don't have a budget. Before we kick into gear, Jono's, we're going to do a quick poll, which is really, Jono, do you have it? Yes, perfect. Jono, do you want to talk to this one?
Yeah, so as we go through, if you're new to us, obviously we do a couple of polls throughout the night just to get a bit of background info from everyone out there. So if you can just take a few seconds, fill in these quick questions. Is your club currently registered with the Australian Sports Foundation? Is your club generating any revenue through the Australian Sports Foundation? And is your club generating any fundraising revenue online yet? So a lot of clubs that we deal with aren't doing that at all. So if you could just take a few seconds to fill those 3 questions in quickly, it gives us some great data to work with, gives the ASF some good data as well, and it can lead the conversation as we go tonight as well. So
yeah, so if everyone can just have a go at that. The reason why it's important is that we all can learn from each other. Some of the clubs we deal with, they think it's just them that are under specific pressure. But Jono, let's just kick that into gear. Let's kick that into gear. And we'll show. We won't show. Will we show the results, Jono?
I don't think it's overly important, but they are pretty consistent.
Yeah, let's quickly just share the results so everyone gets the benefit of what they've answered. So we had 43% are registered with the ASF. So there's a good opportunity for the ASF in that regard. Is your club generating any revenue? Pretty much 4% are saying, yes, we are. So that is a huge opportunity for clubs around the country. And I find the ASF is that those that do and know about it, it's about how do you bring it to life? And hopefully Ryan's going to assist that tonight. Is your club generating any fundraising revenue online? So there's probably 2/3 are saying no. So that's sort of reasonably consistent with the clubs and sports that we actually work with. So what we're going to cover tonight is the various fundraising pressures. We're going to then go into the ASF background, the opportunities for philanthropic sort of fundraising, different ways to utilise the ASF, and we also have a winner of a workshop that we're going to roll right at the end. But if everyone wants to hang on, everyone who attends this session will be beneficial of an offering that we're going to provide that I think it'll be great value for everyone who does attend. We'll do that at the end of the session. So, John, do you want to touch on the brief pressures before we kick into Ryan?
Yeah, so the common fundraising pressures that we come across, there's a lot of great community exercises out there like Bunnings sausage sizzles, chocolate drives, trivia nights, those sort of things, but they're often hard work. We often use the phrase 100 hours to raise $1,000. Just the bang for buck just isn't there. As we touched on off the top, TD, raising money the same way for 30 plus years often, just keep going year in, year out, doing the same thing. And little to no money generated online, which is changing, to be fair, but in the last, particularly the last couple of years, but the more we can help with that tonight, the better.
Look, I don't want to make a categorical statement, but we are steering clubs away from multiple lines of fundraising because it's hard work and it's timely. We're steering them to a refined area of fundraising, 1, 2, or 3 main items of which the AFS is a key piece of that puzzle. And we're steering them to other areas. And those that sit in this session will see how significant the shift in revenue generation that we're going to steer you throughout this series. So I'm just going to quickly show you a little slide. And this is how clubs around the country raise money. They might have a canteen. They might have some beverages. They have their registrations. Some clubs have got 0 to 20 sponsors. They might have some fixed signs around the place if they're allowed to. They might sell 2 or 3 branding assets. It might be on a polo or a singlet. They'll have a handful of fundraisers. They'll have 0 to 30 financial members, and they'll have 2 or 3 rats and mice grants. That is how 95% of clubs around the country raise money. That model is 50 years old. That model is why we have more clubs under pressure than not. And we're going to touch on one piece of the new age revenue model tonight. And as you go through the series, you'll hear the other components of how we steer clubs. But right in front of you is why we're burning out a lot of our volunteers around the country. And I reckon there's usually about 90 to 95%. So again, before we kick into gear with Ryan, we talk about the structure is really important. And we promote a 3-tiered structure, the blue being the decision makers. The second tier is the general committee. And then we have with the third tier, the green, are people who can contribute, who don't necessarily need to go on a committee. And we peel it back and we say to clubs, like tonight, we're saying on your committee, potentially look at a fundraising coordinator and someone to oversee your ASF opportunity. Green box doesn't mean you need to be on a committee, but someone who can contribute to support your organisation and without necessarily going on a committee. So I think, and next week our webinars on structure.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. We're doing these every 2 weeks now, Jono. Good pickup. And but basically, until you get your structure right, everything that we put forward is hard. Clubs don't spend enough time getting their structure right. So we're going to go again, the 2 to 3 fundraisers. We're going to now steer towards Ryan. So welcome, Ryan. Ryan is the National Sales and Partnership Director for the ASF. So welcome, Ryan. Thanks, Ryan. Over to you, mate.
Thanks, TD. Appreciate it. And thanks, everybody, for your time tonight. And I just want to reiterate what Patrick said earlier. It's great to be in a formal partnership now with CLUBMAP. We've done a lot of work with UTD over the years and stuff like that. So it's great to have that formalised and be able to get that strength of partnership together. Because, as you say, we both speak regularly to the same sort of audience. And I think there's some great synergies here. So look forward to it. I guess for this evening, we've touched on, and there was some great stats there, and a few people on the webinar tonight that are registered with us. What we want to really focus in on tonight is getting the most out of your fundraising during end of financial year time. Giving season, as we like to call it at the ASF, where everybody's feeling nice and generous. So that's really what I'll be focusing in on for the next sort of 15, 20 minutes. And I'll also give a little bit of background into who we are and what we do. So for those that are unaware, the Australian Sports Foundation, we're not-for-profit and a registered charity, a deductible gift recipient type 1. Our main purpose is to raise money for the development of sport in Australia. So we're the only entity in Australia where donations are tax deductible for sport. The reason we do it, well, we believe that sport's part of our culture. It's really what it means to be Australian, and everybody on this call tonight would know that. Speaking personally from experience, I am a committee member for my local football club. I've got my kids that play as well. I'm actively involved in sport, and I think Patrick's on the call. It probably wouldn't admit it in public, but it's almost a prerequisite for anybody at the Australian Sports Foundation to be involved in sport in some way, shape, or form, whether as an active participant or on a committee. And most of the staff are both actively participating and sitting on committees. So my role within my footy club is that I'm responsible for the sponsorships and also for our fundraising. I was one of the people that actually said that we haven't raised any money through our club on the online platform through the Australian Sports Foundation as yet. But that will change as I start to activate our committee members and community. Well, why do people donate and when do they donate? And this is why we want to talk about the end of financial year time. If you look at this period, close to 33% of the total donations that we saw through the Australian Sports Foundation last financial year came through the month of June. So 33%, it's a fair whack when you consider we raised just over $52 million in total for sport. So if we have a look at now, we're in May, getting into June. We want to talk about end of financial year campaigns for your clubs to launch. you're looking at over 40%, nearly 50% of donations that are done through this time of year. So now really is a time to start to activate people and look at gearing up for some fundraising activity. So how can we help? What does the ASF do in order to help? Well, we provide the online fundraising platform, and you'll see that in that we've got the only sports-specific online fundraising platform. All the donations are tax deductible. Basically, your club can raise raise money for anything that's going to help develop sport. So whether we're talking about new equipment to start a season, the upgrade of a clubhouse or facility, support for your coaching staff, referees, officials, obviously added pressures through increased hygiene needs and things like that around COVID-19, team travel, and much, much more. You'll see there just on that slide, that is what the online fundraising platform looks like. It gives you information about the project. It allows people to donate straight away. You'll see there the recent donations, that usually the last 20 donations come up. That's based on best practice that we've seen from other fundraising platforms right across the various areas of fundraising, and it really helps motivate. You can obviously, the donors can then obviously share via Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all the social media channels that they've made a donation to your club. But this is on our platform where people come in to find information about your project. So why online fundraising? Well, more and more people are donating online, regardless of whether that's through the Australian Sports Foundation for their sporting club or whether it's for some other cause that they're looking to support. It's more popular now than it ever has been. And I think you'll find that most people do just about everything online, whether that's online shopping, donations or otherwise, booking holidays, all that sort of stuff. No longer are you calling your agent, you're doing all that online. So that's why we have shifted to online fundraising. Obviously, it allows you to do it anytime. So we're not limited to do this within season. We can do it during the off season. We're not limited to game days or training or, taking more time out of our committee and volunteers to do things on weekends. We mentioned sausage sizzles and chocolate drives and all that sort of stuff. We're not limited by any time frame there. Online fundraising can be done anytime, anywhere. It expands the reach of your club. So not only can you do that within your community, but if they become advocates for you, they share it with their social networks and their community. So you're really expanding the audience that you're talking to. It's a better experience for the donors. We have monthly giving options and regular giving options there on the platform as well. So they can go in. There's no cash handling or anything like that. So it's very COVID safe. You're not having to worry about where the money goes, whose safe has it gone into, how much was it. Banking and things like that, particularly for regional clubs, has become harder and harder as financial institutions close down different branches and things like that. So it's not as easy just to go and deposit it into your account. And online, we've actually found that people are likely to give larger amounts as compared to traditional fundraising. If you ask for $5, you're only going to get $5. But with the online platform, we find that people are a little bit more generous. So how to get started? So for those of you that are registered, you've already got a leg up there, which is fantastic. But particularly here, and we're talking about getting started with an end of financial year campaign. If you go to our website, fundraise.sportsfoundation.org.au and click Start Fundraising Now, you can see that there. Basically, that'll get you all ready to sign up. If you haven't signed up already, we get some detail there and we'll onboard you nice and quickly. For those of you that are registered, it's as simple as creating your end of financial year fundraising project. Now, whether you wanted that project to be specifically around something for end of financial year, or whether you wanted to put some polish on an already existing fundraising project that you have with us. I know that we've got some questions through for some people who've already got a project online. Now's the time to get out there and start asking and asking for higher amounts as well. I know that was one of the things that came through, people looking at how they could get some higher amounts. Well, now's the time, the end of financial year time. So we'd recommend that if you do have that project, to get in there, give that some polish and look at starting an end of financial year campaign. And there we've got our end of financial year campaign guidebook, which basically takes you through the start to finish what you need to do in order to plan and plan well for an end of financial year campaign. In there, you'll see fundraising calendars, all the tools, tips, resources that you'll need to have a successful end of financial year campaign. things like EDM templates, posters that you can put up in your clubhouse with some stuff on how to use the QR code generator. COVID, if nothing else, has given us the resurgence of the QR code. So we found that a lot of people using that to direct people to their donation page has helped really well. We've also got some guidance in there on social media posts and things like that. And the calendar will give you a good timeline as to when to send those things and how to go about that. The most important thing is to ask for donations. 85% of people that give to projects simply do so because they were asked. I know that sounds simple, but really that's what it's about. We have to have some courage in our conviction here, particularly in sport, that we can ask for donations, and that sport is just as good as giving cause. Your club, what you do within your community, is just as good as giving cause as anything else. And so we really encourage you to utilize the templates and tools that we've put together for you within this end of financial year campaign guidebook to help you ask for donations. We've got our fundraising support team there that's on hand to provide guidance and support. So they're only a phone call or an email away. Dedicated staff within that group that can help you, whether it's getting on there to put some finishing touches on your project, or whether you've got any questions around how to get started and get it going. Donors are then, obviously, when they donate, they're provided a co-branded receipt from the ASF as the deductible gift recipient. We take receipt of the monies, we receipt them for their donation for the benefit of your club, and it generally includes a logo from your club, provided you've uploaded that on the back end, which is easy enough to do. And then we automatically distribute the funds to your club, to the bank account that you nominate on the back end of the system. So nice and easy to access. The biggest thing here, particularly around end of financial year campaign, is to be really clear and concise about what you're raising money for. So this is what we call developing a case for support. And you can put this in your project. Really, it's a straightforward call to action as to why your club needs donations and what objective you're looking to achieve. What difference will a donor's contribution make to your club? And knowing that you're going to speak to people within your community, generally a lot of those will be participating and a part of your club. So how will they make a difference? They already make a difference by being part of it. They can make even more of a difference by giving back to the club. So as I mentioned before, you may want to start a project that's specific around the end of financial year time, or you might just want to put some polish on an existing project, or potentially if you're new to us, you may just have a project that needs funding. And right now is the time to really capture that audience and get some donations through the door. So the next steps, for those of you on the webinar tonight that haven't already, please sign up with the Australian Sports Foundation. We'd love to be able to assist you with your fundraising activity, anything that's going to help your club. Really, we're about diversifying revenue. TD touched on that before. It's really about being part of the funding mix. We're not saying we're the silver bullet. We're definitely not the be all and end all. Sponsorship, your membership, registrations, all those things, any grants, they're all still very important parts of the funding mix. But what we're trying to do here is get fundraising on the radar and make that part of your revenue mix. It sounds very daunting. Fundraising can be one of those words that's very daunting and sound like it's a lot of hard work, but that's where the Australian Sports Foundation come in. Our aim is to make this as low drag and as easy as possible for your club. We know, and your committee members, we know that they're always pulled from pillar to post, looking after their own families, their own careers, their own sporting endeavours, and being part of a committee. So we're here to try and make that as easy as possible. So visit fundraise.sportsfoundation.org.au to get up and running. End of financial year time, a great time to kickstart a fundraising project and ask for donations.
Just come off mute. Thanks, Ryan. And we're going to have a few questions at the end. Ryan, just one now. It's really opened up in terms of what you can donate to now. Like, if going back 5+ years ago, and don't quote me on the exact years, it used to be for specific, potentially capital projects, but you can fund every aspect of potentially of a community organisation. Is that fair?
That's right, Terry. Yeah, and we've got our fearless leader on the line to sort of thank for that. When Patrick came in, to the Sports Foundation. It was basically to break down the barriers to fundraising for sports clubs. So we're very bureaucratic in the way that that things were done. You could only fundraise for certain things. There was fairly strict guidelines on what that was. Once you were finished that project, you basically were back to square one and had to start again. What Patrick and the team have done and what we've continued to do is that once a club is registered with us and signs up, that's in perpetuity. Once you're a member of the Australian Sports Foundation, you're always a member of the Australian Sports Foundation. And then we broke down the barriers and got back to what our charter was. Our charter is to help raise money for the development of sport in Australia. So that can be any number of things, from new equipment to helping get a team to, play their games of a weekend, to develop coaching programs, women's programs.
Wide and varied now, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Chris, can I put you on the spot? Because Chris's passion is been gifting programs. Chris, you should touch on gifting for a couple of minutes and the role that can play, utilising the ASS as the vehicle for the tax deductible donations.
Yeah, look, one thing about running your club is that everything's connected, from the committee through your volunteer program, membership, sponsorship, the whole box and dice. But we need a capital works project or a project that's really important to your club. We need to put a figure on that. And now we need a plan in place to go out and ask people for money to donate. Australians give more money to non-profit organisations than ever before. 60% of people say they don't give because they're never asked. So what the ASF offer is a tax reduction to those people who are donating. So that gives them two choices. They can either double the gift they give you, or they can get a deduction from the gift they've given you. So in a sense, we're encouraging donors to double their contribution, but they can, get that, it's linked into their kind of tax position, but get a refund through the ASF. So everyone wins. Everyone wins. Everyone's doing a bit for their community. And it's been a great injection into community clubs and helped build a lot of the facilities and set up a lot of the programs around the country.
Perfect, Chris. Now, my experience in working with community clubs, they want to know what they're donating to. And there technically can't be reciprocal benefit going back to the donor. But what I find is clubs can have a membership program of 2, 3, 4 or 5 memberships, and one being a donation strictly linked to the ASF. What I find, and during our series, we strongly promote membership and sponsorship as the cornerstone of community clubs, but they struggle in that space. But more than half of membership and sponsorship is often a donation. So why not steer that through the ASF? Obviously, you've got to make sure you cross the T's and dot the I's, but I know half of the people who donate at my local club who buy a membership, it's literally a donation. So why not get a tax deduction for it? Same with sponsorship. I ask a general question to our corporate partners who sponsor community clubs. How much is there a two-way partnership? Oh no, half it's just a donation to keep the club alive from individuals through their company vehicle, where the tax rate's 27.5 cents. Someone might have an individual tax rate higher than that. So they might be, and if there's no reciprocal benefit, it might be framed as sponsorship. Why not put it through here? So I just think clubs need to know, look, I'm going to give you a couple of grand. It's framed as sponsorship. I'm not expecting anything in return. Let's steer that to the ASF, right? And the same, sorry, mate.
Sorry, Ted, it's a really good one, actually, and particularly on membership. We worked with a club recently here in my local community where they just had a group of old boys basically that loved the club, and they were throwing in money, and it was a quasi membership. They weren't really getting anything for it. So what we did was we actually got that group together and got them to form what they now call, it's Warringah Rugby Club. So they now call that the Friends of Warringah. So those have gone from being memberships to annual donation pledges to the Friends of Warringah Foundation. And what that does is it allows them to help junior rugby, senior rugby, and everything else that happens at that club. So they've been able to buy a scrum machine for the juniors. They've been able to do a whole heap of different things. So
look, I just want to thanks, Ryan. I just want to keep it simple. Normally when an individual gives money to a community organisation, they can't get a tax deduction because a sporting club doesn't hold that deductible gift recipient status, right? However, if you use the ASF, you can. Normally, if you're donating through a business, and often some of these advertising, it's framed as advertising and not legit. You know, here's $2,000 framed as advertising, and I can talk on behalf of lots and lots of clubs. You're better off, you know, its individual tax rate might be greater than the company tax rate. So I honestly think every club, if they structure it right, could generate a 5-figure sum through these 2 vehicles a year. And anytime you make a 5-figure sum at community level, it's a really good outcome. So just don't underestimate, and it's just worth touching on that. So before we kick into gear, we've developed a community page where clubs can, thanks Ryan, we'll come back to you if you don't mind at the end of the session for questions. We have a community page where clubs can solve problems amongst themselves. So we have our CLUBMAP page, which has 2,500 clubs on there, but we've just set up this community page. It has, I think it's pushing 650 clubs, where clubs, if you like the community page, then you can learn from others, and it's, I think it's a great asset. So we've got a lot of clubs ask us, what's the journey? If we want to be a part of, this is where we get to talk a little bit about what we offer. What do we offer clubs? So we think the most important part is a 4-step process where every club should complete a health check. Now, tonight, every club in May, we're going to give you a free health check, and you can go online and register for that. And we're going to give you the link for that in a second. We have a lot of education resources because a lot of our volunteers, remember, went back to my first slide, 94% of volunteers are not educated how to run a club. So we've got 250 downloadable templates, 170 videos where people are not thrown in the deep end. They can learn in our education platform. This is our core business, premium planning workshop, which the clubs get 3 plans. Some clubs really having trouble with their structure. Maybe they just want a structural volunteers workshop or a revenue workshop. And then this builds the plans, and the stage 3 is optional, but you need to bring the plans to life. And then 12 months or even longer later, a lot of our clubs need to review and recharge. So this is, and we'll promote these slides to the clubs that have attended tonight, but just gives you an idea. This is the health check. So it assesses your organisation. I'm going to have a slide at the end. If you go to our website, clubmap.com, go to join now, use this enter code, free HCMAY, and everyone can get a free health check. And I'd encourage you to sit around the room. Often clubs know something isn't quite right, but they just don't know how to fix it. And because they're not, again, they don't have the experience or the knowledge to do that. And also we have different offers for our NSOs and SSOs, which I won't go into now, but I think you'll find that. We also have anyone who buys our education's this price. You can buy our webinar. Our webinars are on demand, and you get access to all our templates, all our videos, and that's 12 months access. So it's like a subscription model you can look at. I just want to give you an example of our platform. So this is, I'll just turn this video down if I don't mind. If this is the people that are currently our clubs, you go to login, use our login. That's a bit loud, isn't it? But I'll try and turn that down a little bit. But these are all our videos, all our templates. It's a pretty slick platform where people are a part of our subscription model. If you bought the Education Hub, you get access to all this. And it's very affordable, 12-month subscription. Again, a lot of our volunteers are thrown into these roles, but they're not educated how to do it. So just gives you an example of that. We have, a lot of our clubs, we offer 3 different workshops, which is that premium planning workshop we talked about, which gets 3 plans, a strategic plan, an operational plan, a revenue plan. A good share of our business is here. A lot of clubs don't have a plan. They don't have a plan. The second session brings the plans to life. Some clubs are really happy with their strategic plan. Look, we just need help on our structure and our volunteers. Some clubs just want to focus on revenue and the new age revenue model, not that out-of-date model that I showed you earlier in the piece. So that's an idea of the services that we offer. A lot of and anyone who's part of our program, you get to ring us anytime during the 12 months. So for clubs, it's like having another vice president in their back pocket, because it is difficult. We know how hard it is hard. And I like what Ryan said about all the staff at ASF have to work in community. I think it's 100% essential. And you really need to understand the landscape that your main customer base is dealing with. So we also have support for councils. I know there's national bodies here tonight, there's state bodies, there's councils. So a lot of our councils are asking us to do some tailored webinars. Jono's just delivering a tailored webinar now. We've got different sports who want an independent review, the health checks, general consulting, strategic planning. So we've obviously got the individual clubs, which I showed you earlier. And this is what we provide to councils and sporting bodies around the country, whether it's NSO or state level. So just keep that in the back of your mind. We offer 15 webinars for our state bodies. Jono, as I said, is delivering one for a council tonight. I think he's delivering a session on grants. So we educate this is all the off-field, off-pitch, off-court stuff. So just keep that in the back of your mind. I mentioned earlier, I've been doing this 7 years now since we launched. It was formerly TD Solutions. We then rebranded CLUBMAP, and people often ask me, what is the one thing that clubs don't have that sees them struggling? They don't have a plan. They don't know what good looks like sometimes, because it goes back to that first slide. 94% of volunteers are not specifically educated how to run a club. We are a community-minded group. We're Australia-wide, and a lot of our clubs just need that energy and they need some, what it's like. It's community clubs that does suck the life out of you. It's sometimes it's like having a part-time job, but guess what? You're not getting paid to do it. So again, it's about creating the environment, having a roadmap, having a direction. Again, any clubs who want a chat with us, that's our direct link. You can book in a free, no obligation, 20 to 30-minute chat. And I'm going to bring up now anyone, and particularly anyone who wants to hear more from, I'm going to stop, get Jono's slide. I'm going to ask anyone who wants, actually, just if you don't mind while we're doing it, we're going to give you the details on the free health check. But if anyone wants more information on the ASF or some of our services, it'd be interesting to see if everyone could just spend a minute or two, just a minute, just answering these 3 questions. Hopefully, is that kicking into gear? Yeah, that's working now. So the first question is, how many webinars you've been to? The second question is, would you like to hear more from us or the ASF of how we can assist your organisation? Because, and I might go to you, Ricky. Ricky works with clubs every day. Rick, just give us a sort of 1-minute snapshot on the clubs that you work with, and yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Eddie. Look, we're working with, as you said, I think it's 75 now, not 70, all different sports all over the country, council, state bodies, national bodies, all different size clubs. And you're 100% right, mate. It's hard work. A lot of them are too few are doing too much. We have a proven and powerful record now over many, many years. It's not a myth, it happens. The magic comes when the clubs have a plan. As you said, it's a 1% difference. At the end of the day, clubs go from, I know it's hard to believe, but clubs go from 4, 5, 6 people running their club to anywhere from 25 to 45, depending on the size of the sport, in their structure. And it's the fundraising methods that make life so much easier. We bring back the fun, the mojo. It's a much cheaper investment, Teddy, to invest in change than not invest in change. That's a fact. So it's all about just making that first step. And there's a lot of clubs hurting out there, mate. And I just know that the clubs that do it, they all say after it, oh my God, I just didn't realise how good this could be. So we want to bring the good to your club. In fact, we want to bring the great and bring back that fun.
So thanks for everyone. And if you tick the box, which was a lot of people did tick the box, I want to thank Rick for that. He's as passionate about community. He has literally held every role in community possible, and you can it comes out of his pores. He's that invested in community. Just before we kick into the Q&A, we have a bi-monthly wrap that everyone who attended tonight will receive tips. It's just grants. If you've got any grants, put them on our community page and we'll put them up here so everyone can benefit from it, right? And just any news, any information around the country, We find this a really valuable resource, and hopefully you'll anyone who's attending tonight will be a part of that process. This is our webinar series, and just to be clear, we used to run these weekly, and we couldn't keep up with the leads, which is a good problem to have. But again, it's just so we're doing it every second week. We're doing this every second week. That allows us to follow up a lot more of the clubs. So I'd encourage everyone. We're doing a specific cricket webinar next week, but I'd encourage everyone. I think the most important one of the remaining webinars is structure, committee structure. A lot of clubs are using an out-of-date committee structure, and they are sharing the load amongst 3 or 4. Rick talked about the growth in volunteers. We're going to touch on an over 55s initiative for people of that age, pre-pension, potentially to help being funded to run your club 30 hours a fortnight. There's a lot of detail in that, a lot of red tape. Don't ask questions now because it'll take about 10, 20 minutes to answer it, but we'll sow the seed about how you can populate the structure, because a lot of people often say, look, it's great to have a structure, but we don't have the people to fill it. So let's look at the opportunity. So that's our webinar series. You can register now for those. Anyone who's attended, you'll get a couple of reminders a week on that. So again, just this is a new thing. So any of our old CLUBMAP attendees, we're going to be playing this recording of tonight's session, 7 o'clock next Monday night. And we'll be registering that with the new Calendly link, and we're promoting it tomorrow. We can't promote it till we've actually got the recording, which we're doing now. But again, every second week, because often what happens, a lot of committees come onto this session, they say, oh, I wish my committee was here to see that. Then they can watch the recording the week later. We may even actually release as a one-off, which I spoke to Patrick about and Kelly about this first session, refine down, that we can promote it to all and sundry. Because I think the message from the ASF, it's the best kept secret in Australia. And I think we might release, we don't normally release our recordings, but I think that's something to look at. Again, now, so just to recap here, if you're a club that's tuned in tonight and you haven't done a health check, you can do it now, or you get your committee to sit around a table and do it. So go to our website, clubmap.com.au. We assess everything off field, off court, off pitch. And I could say lots of other things as well. But again, there's the code. And it captures, again, a lot of our clubs, they often, when they go through their health check and say, oh, we're not doing that, or we're not doing that, or we're not doing that. So I think that's a really great benefit. So that's available for May. We normally charge $180 for 10 logins. We're only providing the one login, where if you've got a handful of people around your committee, do the survey. So I'd encourage everyone to do that. So now we promoted a free $2.5 grand premium planning workshop, and we're going to do spin the draw right now. We had about 30 clubs who gave us 50 to 100 words on why they thought they should be the club of benefit, but we're going to click it now. Over to Charlie. So hopefully, I don't know how long this takes, Charlie, but I think Charlie's here. So, oh, wait a minute. Okay, Wodonga, Squash, and Racquetball Club. That's we've been talking to. Is that Kevin Quirk, Rick? I think we've been talking to Kevin for a long time. But so congratulations,
Kevin Quick, Terry.
Quick, is it?
Yep.
Okay, so it's so congratulations to those guys, and we'll get in touch with you. So I'm just going to say that's our team. Quite as a couple, we've got to add a couple to this team. It's quite a wide and varied team. So I'm going to stop that now. I'm going to throw a couple of questions. Are you ready for a couple of questions, Ryan?
Fire away.
Right, mate. Okay. How do we best locate it? I've got this from Brent. Vic Country Masters. How do we best locate our ASF representative?
Yeah, I just saw that one come through. So Brent, I've set a task for our fundraising support team in real time to give you a call tomorrow. Okay. But the easiest way is info@sportsfoundation.org.au via email, or you can phone us. Our contact details there. But I have set a task for them it's right in front of me now, so expect a call in the next day or two.
No worries. Hey, Andrew, were there any questions in the chat?
Yeah, there's actually a fair few, TD, so I might just start with the earlier ones in case we run out of time. One from Rowan: does the ASF provide social media advertisements for clubs to advertise on their own socials, etc.?
Yeah, we've got a lot of different things that we do on our social media channels, really, to try and raise awareness and things like that. So if there's particular projects that we do promote, but no one gets any special sort of treatment through our channels, but what we do is provide you with templates and resources to help advertise your own fundraising activity through your social media accounts.
Great, thank you. One from Graham: how does the donor find our club on the ASF website? Does the club direct people to the website instead of accepting funds directly?
Yeah, we've got a search function on the website where people can find your club. They can search for your club there if not. But each project that your club has with the Australian Sports Foundation has its own unique URL and its own unique donation page URL. So you can share those unique URLs with your stakeholders, your community, and that's the best way for them to be able to find your project, your fundraising project, and make a donation.
Great. From Neville: does the ASF charge a fee?
We don't charge any fees for establishment or anything like that. We are a success-based model. We're a self-funded not-for-profit, so we do retain a small percentage of the donations that come through the platform. So 95% of the donations go back to your club, and we hold on to 5% to help cover our operating costs and to be able to provide the platform to more clubs right across the country.
Okay. The next couple of questions might be back for you, TD, there from a tax and accounting perspective. It's about, can companies that donate get a tax deduction, or is it for individuals only? And John responded with, isn't sponsorship to a business tax deductible?
Well, yeah, the answer is, if there's a reciprocal benefit to the sponsor, to the club, yes, they can claim that as a tax deduction through the corporate entity that they are involved in. So the company tax rate is 27.5%. However, as I indicated earlier, half of our sponsorship, people is just giving it over as a donation, and they're framing it as advertising. And to be honest, there's a little bit of risk to that. And they'd be far safer if that was the position, for the individual to steer the money to the ASF, and their marginal tax rate may be higher than the 27 cents in the dollar. Does that make sense? So let's say you're 45 cents in the dollar, or even 30 cents or 35 cents. I think there's the thresholds. Some of people who are handing over sponsorship that have got no benefit, they are far better off going to the ASF from a tax point of view. And if I do find, if there's a 10 to 15% win for the potential contributor, that can be the difference between a sponsor staying or not. So the ASF helps convert that. That help? That's probably a long-winded answer, but it's pretty complicated, isn't it? But I'm a bean counter by trade, so I've lived and breathed this quite a bit.
You did it very well, thank you. From Melissa: can a donation of goods or business vouchers be included on the ASF platform? And if so, can they be a tax deduction?
So yes, donations of goods and property can come through the Australian Sports Foundation. It is a little bit more nuanced. So we're happy to work with clubs on a one-to-one basis that might have someone that is looking to donate goods and property. We've taken plenty through our time. We've taken a boat trailer recently for All Abilities rowing program. We've taken a yacht.
Wow.
We've taken several yachts over the last little bit. Actually, we've taken rowing sculls. We've had lots of different things, goods and property, tangible goods and property donated to us. There is a separate agreement that's done. Yeah, so
can I just clarify that, because I'm learning as well. A lot of our clubs, we're steering to maybe an online goods and services auction, right? Let's say someone donates, I'm going to do $1,000 concreting driveway this weekend. So
That's where the nuance lies, TD, and that we can take tangible physical goods and property. We cannot take services. So they can the concrete be donated and the value of that get a tax deduction?
Okay.
Absolutely. But the labour and services, no.
Yeah, and that makes sense because often the person donating the money, it might be an individual donating the goods, is coming from an individual perspective. So that they can at least offset some of their contribution or their physical outlay as a tax deduction in their own personal tax return. That's a winner, I reckon. Yeah, perfect. Andrew.
There's a comment from Graham specifically about his sport having a perception problem. Graham, I probably recommend you take that offline directly with either us or through the ASF. I don't think it's one we could probably answer directly here. Lynn has asked, does the ASF auspice grants that require the applicant to have DGR status?
We do. We auspice for a number of different grants right across the country, whether they're from, well, I did one recently actually for the Stone and Wood Brewery that had a grant that was going out to help community sport. And we auspiced for a couple of organisations for that, right up to your larger ones that are done through the likes of Perpetual. We can provide a letter of support and our auspice for anybody who would like to, be able to apply for a grant that requires you to have DGR status. That's what the registration with the Australian Sports Foundation offers, is that item 1 DGR status.
Great. Okay, this is from Brent. Once we sign up, can we use the ASF logo as a partner?
We would encourage that and welcome it, and absolutely let us know and we can send you all the variations, the black and white version that you see up there, the white on the monochrome, all that. Yeah, absolutely.
And is that Brent from, is that Brent?
Yes.
Alley? Yeah.
Yes.
So Brent represents a league. So he's got 15 clubs, I think, Brent, that form part of your league. So that makes good sense to use a league or an association to promote the wares of the ASF.
And we'd welcome that, Brent. Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
How are we going, Andrew?
Yeah, we're still getting some more in, so we're nearly there. From John, can you have multiple fundraising at the same time? We have an existing one, but would like to up the target. Is that a clear question, Ryan?
Yeah, number one, we can always up the target for an existing project at any time. That can be done through the fundraising partner portal. If anybody needs any assistance with that, again, the fundraising support team there to help that. We have a number of clubs that have multiple projects running at the same time. So where they may have an equipment fund, they may have a coach development fund, and they may have a female participation program that they're running. So they would run them all at different times. It allows them variety in who they're talking to as well, because not everybody's going to have the same focus. So it allows you to approach different people that may have different interests across the club. I think there was a question earlier on as well that was around, does the donation need to be specific for a project or can it be general in nature? So what we do is we actually work with clubs. We can set up a generic fundraising sort of project that lists a number of different initiatives that the club might be looking to raise money for. Any donations that come through from that, then the club has the discrepancy to sort of point the fire extinguisher to whatever's on fire, as long as those purposes are listed within that project. Or you can then have sub-projects off of that for those specific pillars within there. So yes, we can run multiple projects at the one time.
Thank you. Looks like the final question I've got here, can normal club memberships be paid through the ASF?
So again, this comes back to TD's thing around tangible benefit back to someone. So it's if I take a membership, or let's take a team travel, for example. So if you've got a tour that's going to New Zealand or something like that, or overseas, you can't then pay the levy, so the $2,000 that it might cost to do that, into the Australian Sports Foundation and get a tax deduction for that, because there is material benefit in that for the participant or for the donor. If it's a parent or an individual, if your memberships come through and they're actually getting season tickets and the polo shirt and the cap and stuff like that for the year, that's a tangible benefit. There is material benefit back to the donor there, and then would not then be eligible as a bona fide donation. What we can do though is work with clubs to add in a donation element to their memberships, and we can do that by integrating into your system and different things like that. It's a very simple process. We call it an add-on donation, if you like. one payment to the club, including the membership and the donation fee. And then we work with you on the back end to bulk upload all the individual donation amounts that have come through, receipt those donors for the donation portion, then pass those monies back to the club. So a little bit more nuance in that. It can be done, but no, straight membership as a donation cannot.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
Now,
Shall we make it the last one, Terry?
yeah, you got one more?
Yeah. Can a project be an event?
Projects can be events to a degree where it helps develop sport, or if it is in fact where the sport is at the core. So we've helped in fundraising for a number of different events, whether that's an all abilities tournament, a power chair tournament is one that comes to mind that we've helped fund in the past. So it can be an event. I don't know, Patrick, if you want to jump in there. I'm not quite sure about things like sportsmen's lunches and things like that. We do get some inquiries about some of that.
I think if we're talking about events, they would need to be sporting events, sports carnivals, current try days, whatever, competitions, that sort of thing. Sport has to be at the core of it.
Nice to have the big boss there to drag in for the headline.
Now, just Ryan, the slides that we've shown tonight, are you comfortable in sharing those slides with the attendees tonight?
Yeah, absolutely, TD. We've shared those slides in some webinars that we've done as well. So and as I say, like our website for more information, anybody wants to learn more about us and get in touch with the team, we'd be more than happy to speak to any of the clubs that are on here tonight.
On you. Thank you. Thanks, Ryan. He's very good on your feet, young fellow. Well, great job. So we normally run these webinars for 40 minutes and we then cut it off and then we have the Q&A at the end. And the Q&A always lasts for 15 to 20 minutes, which is pretty much right. But it just shows you there's a real interest because I think we had 136 max. We've still got 111 people tuned in, and we're just general questions because there is a real need in this space, and the ASF feel it terrific or create that vehicle to assist clubs. I think you'll find the rest of the series will even exacerbate further how important it is to drive membership and sponsorship. And clubs don't often do that in a great fashion, generally speaking, but we will help you in that regard. And then the ASF value will increase 3, 4, 5 times again. So there's going to be some upside on tonight, and we'll continue to link the ASF in our webinars during the series. But I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And we've got a cricket webinar next Monday night. But just as a reminder, if you missed tonight's webinar, it's being played 7 o'clock next Monday night. And we'll do the recording the week after. So people who do miss out, they can invite the community to, look, you really should sit on this session. So there's no reasons to miss it, really, is there? So thanks, everybody. Over and out from CLUBMAP. Thanks to all our crew for tuning in. Thanks for Andrew. Thanks for Ricky. Thanks for Connells. And thanks to Ryan. And hopefully you got some real value out of the session. And we look forward to kicking into gear, which is our 6th series on CLUBMAP and partnering with ASF, which we're thrilled about. So over and out for me. Take care, and I hope to see you next week. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
We're happy to just hang around for 5 minutes or so. If anyone wants to come off mute and answer a question, there's anyone, and just a couple of questions if anyone wants to ask specifically, or I've probably lost most of them anyway. I think half are gone. So that's all good. But if anyone wants to ask a direct question rather than through the chat room, we can answer it if you like.
There was one, TD, that we didn't get to from Teresa. I think it was around whether we run a registration portal for player membership online. We don't currently do that, but what we can do is look to integrate with the online membership systems that you have. Yep. To add a donation if that's what you'd like to do.
Yeah, cool. All right, I reckon we'll leave it at that. Thanks, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Or for your cricket club, you can tune in next Monday night. Over and out from us. Take care.